Welcome back to the Red Stool. And today we're going to be talking about My Hero Academia, chapter 298, The Sounds of Collapse. The chapter starts us off the day of the raids on the hospital. And we see that there was an additional raid at the Durant offices, and Redestro has been beaten and surrounded by heroes in the police. We also see that one of the people that were inside of his office, coordinator and the host of the hero practice, the licensing exams, is at his office as well. And they had some sort of merger with the Durant company due to the products that they were making. Since they were the safety committee, they did a partnership. But there was probably the ulterior motives behind the partnership as well, as far as them being able to spy on Redestro, see what the Paranormal Liberation Front was doing. And this is probably how they were able to find out about so many different hideouts that they had and what heroes were actually under their employ. So we see all of them there. They're in the office. They're having a conversation, and it looks like Redestro's body is collapsing because we find out that it was a copy made by Twice. So the real Redestro would do his work at the Paranormal Liberation Front, and the copy that Twice made would go to work at the offices, I guess, as, to save face, make things smoother, since, he needed to be in two places at once. But as his copy is collapsing, he's leaving the heroes and the police with this sort of cryptic message as far as how they desire to live in a society without order, and the seeds have already been planted for that. And just as he's saying that statement, it cuts back to All For One, and we see that it's 5 a.m. the next day. And what it turns out is he was able to escape from Tartarus. He was, he stole some helicopters, and using said helicopters, launched raids on 7 other prisons, and was able to free inmates from 6 of those 7. So all night he started his break, he broke into Tartarus, it was around 8:15, and now he and his group are just settling in to their new hiding spot at 5 o'clock in the morning. So all night he's been terrorizing society, breaking into prisons, stealing villains from them, probably adding more numbers to the Paranormal Liberation Front. And we also see that he's leaving a wider trail for the police and the heroes to follow. So now they won't be able to just zero all their efforts in on finding him. They need to, find some of these other escapees. There's probably a lot of work that needs to be done in the prisons and extra security, since they are damaged now. They probably had more personnel hurt and killed. And me personally, I kind of wonder now, even if they were to recapture some of them, where would they go? Since he's destroyed Tartarus, there's no more number 1 prison for them all to go to, and now he's launched all these attacks on the other prison. So kind of where would the villains go now? So that's something else that I guess they're gonna have to deal with very quickly, getting the repairs done to these prisons, probably making better prisons. But he's settling into their new hiding spot. He's regrouped with some of the other members that he did not take with him to Tartarus, because he did go to Tartarus. It was just him, his near high-end Nomu, and Shigaraki. But at the base, there's Spinner's there, Dabi's there, and there's a few other people in the shadows. But so now they were all able to regroup somehow, and they're talking about their next moves. All For One is saying, all right, we need to let Shigaraki rest. His body's not complete, and he needs to heal and recover from everything that's happened. And you see Spinner, he gives him a little back talk. He's like, well, hey, who are you? I agreed to follow Shigaraki. They don't even really know who he is, just because of his relationship with, the League and then the Paranormal Liberation Front. He was always kind of in the shadows. He only really dealt with the Doctor and then talked to Shigaraki rarely. I think the only time they probably really saw him in person is when he saved them from All Might and the heroes back at the bar raid. But Spinner, he's questioning All For One. Me personally, I don't like Spinner. He kind of feels like the Sakura of the League of Villains. His powers kind of consist of, I'm a lizard, and he doesn't really do much else. And, you know, the fact that the only real reason he joined the League of Villains is because, you know, he was a Stain fanboy and whatnot. But other than that, like, to be honest, aside from being Shigaraki's most devoted follower, he doesn't do much. He doesn't do much for me. He's kind of just, now he's just like a Stain ripoff. I get, and his motives for becoming a villain are they're a little weak. Like, okay, I can understand him being like bullied and, you know, becoming a recluse because he lived in a small town and, you know, a lizard man was too weird for them to accept. But I mean, at that same token, like, he, you know, he's shown his love of video games. He could have been a professional gamer, did streaming over the internet or something, play Counter-Strike. You didn't have to become a villain, but, you know, he's back talking All For One. And All For One, you know, he kind of just shushes him a little, but not shushes him, but he dismisses him a little bit by saying, well, hey, I hold Tomura's will in the highest regard. And once he is all healed up and back to 100% or 75%, since that's where he started off, I'm not sure if he's going to be able to get to 100% now, or if this is, you know, he can just pull a Luffy and sleep this off and wake up and be, you know, ready to wage another war on Hero Society. You know, all things to look forward to, you know, seeing. But, you know, just a few unanswered questions there. But All For One, he's saying, hey, Shigaraki needs to rest. I hold his will in the highest regard. Once he wakes up, we'll be able to bring our dreams into fruition. So, you know, All For One there, he has the smooth line there where, you know, he coaxes over Spinner and probably everybody else that's listening, since, you know, he's trying to take a leadership role now, since, you know, everything that's going on with Shigaraki. But, you know, it still brings into question, what is All For One's end goal? Because he doesn't say Shigaraki's desires or his will or whatever he wants. He says our. So, you know, it could, you know, I know they all share the generalized goal of, hey, let's destroy everything. But, you know, once again, All For One's never been that type of villain. I'm pretty sure he has other things planned. Just something to watch out for. And now we have another skip in the chapter, which is 2 days later to, you know, the best boy in My Hero Academia, Bakugo Katsuki. He wakes up in his hospital bed, you know, yelling, of course, because, you know, he's Bakugo. Bakugo's gonna Bakugo. And we see, like, some of the other students from 1A are actually in the hospital, which is nice. You know, it shows how tight their bonds are. And he's hollering, he's like, oh, where am I? Like, what is this? And they're like, oh, my God, you finally woke up. Because, you know, he's been, since he was stabbed in his stomach, he's been, you know, unconscious since the end of the raid. But it's good to see that he's recovered. You know, he starts asking them a few questions as to what's going on. And we get to cut to see some of the other students that were hurt. And we jump to Todoroki. We see him, he's bandaged up in his hospital bed, but he's unable to talk because of the damage that he got from Dabi's jet burn at the end of their fight. And he's just, you know, he's sitting there. It's kind of like he can hear the reporters and the crowds outside. You know, they want answers as far as to everything that was happening, what's going to continue to happen. And I'm pretty sure, you know, they've gotten wind of the 8 prison breaks that All For One pulled, you know, the day after, you know, the day of the raid. You know, he basically did his own raid on Hero Society. But, you know, so they're wanting answers, and so they're camping outside, hoping to get them, hoping to catch the heroes coming in or out the hospital. And you just hear him, he's thinking to himself. He's like, you know, he's thinking about the fight with his brother and everything, you know, the emotions. He's processing through his emotions, and he sees a reflection of himself inside of Dabi. He's like, his flames are full of hate, just like I was, you know, because of, you know, Dabi, he was a victim as well of Endeavor's treatment and everything, just like Todoroki was. Except, you know, he went the other route that Todoroki, you know, he went the villain route. Todoroki, he was like, you know, hey, I'm gonna be better than you without using your powers. But they are, both of them, they have that same damage was done to them at a young age, and they've just gone about handling it different ways. And that's when Todoroki, he's like, you know what, it can't be that. I gotta be the one to save my brother, or it seems like he wants to save him rather than stop him. He's like, I want you to be able to have your life back, almost to a degree, because Todoroki, he didn't really have a life once he was under Endeavor. He didn't really have a life. It was just be the new number one hero, be the new number one hero. And he was like, I will, he was going to become the number one hero, but only to spite his father. It was just going to be, I'm going to become the number one hero just by using my ice quirk. I'm not going to use your fire quirk at all. And he lived his life in hatred of his father. So, and Deku was able to, kind of save him from that ideology and those thoughts. And now it seems as though he wants to do the same thing for Dabi. So I'm pretty sure these two are going to be bumping into each other again in the future, and there'll be another confrontation. Whether or not he's able to, we could get a turnaround story with Dabi to where as though he could, he could give up willingly, try to become a decent part of his family, or, he could go out in a bright blue blaze of flames. You never know. I would side on going out in a bright blaze just because of his personality and whatnot. I don't think he's going to be able to forgive Endeavor, but maybe he can grow to either love or respect his brother Todoroki, and we can see some sort of happy ending there. Then the chapter, it does take a darker turn as we get to the end, because we do see that Endeavor, he has yet to wake up, I guess, from the extent of the injuries that he had, overheating his body, plus all the damage that he took in the fight with Shigaraki. It was, he's trying to recover from all of that. Then you have Gran Torino. He hasn't woken up yet, and his old age, it couldn't have helped. It couldn't have helped. And, all of his injuries, he's the oldest hero, I think, that was involved in this. And he's also one of the more ones that was beaten up. So much so that his life and Eraserhead's life were prioritized by the remaining heroes, just trying to get them to the hospital, see what's going on with them. Eraserhead, he was, he lost his leg, and he might have undergone some more damage to what looks like to be his right eye, because his head is bandaged up. So he could have more damage done to his right eye that could affect, so we just got to see how that'll affect him in the future. Then, lastly, we have Deku, who has yet to wake up, and we see All Might at his bedside, and he's just quietly, I guess he's just probably quietly praying that Deku will wake up and he's okay. And there's been a lot of people that have theorized that Deku is okay. He's just inside of One for All, probably learning and trying to train with the previous users, because we saw him get exposed to that world that's inside of his quirk where he couldn't even move around. So he's probably trying to gain some sort of control over that to be able to move around in that world. And thusly, if he masters that world, I guess, you can probably assume that he'll come out being able to use more of All for One, and it'll probably be stronger, So he could, it's just another layer of All for One. One thing that stands out to me was we didn't see Deku's mom in the room with All Might over Deku's bed. And that kind of made me raise an eyebrow, just because if some people in the hospital like Todoroki, they're already getting visitors, then you would assume that as much as Deku's mom loves him, that she would have been the first person there at the hospital when she found out that he was hurt again. But she isn't, which could give more weight to the theory that she was killed during the the destruction that took place in the city when Giganto Machina was running through the city trying to get to Shigaraki. Because I feel like either she has to be injured or killed, because what other reason would she have for not going to the hospital to see her son? So that's just something to think about. Overall, I think it was a pretty good chapter. It's a lot of layers going on. It's a lot setting up to the future and what's going to happen. A lot more imminent clashes. I'm excited to see how the villain arc wraps up, and what really, what All for One has in store for society. Is he going to, use Shigaraki as his pawn to destroy Hero Society and then step in again to be able to run society? Or will they be able to stop it? It's a lot of questions to ask, forward to finding out about. Just, let me know what you guys think. Talk to me in the comments. Give me your fan theories. What do you think? Do you have any favorite members of the league? Do you have any favorite members of Hero Society? Just, come talk to me. I'll see you guys next week for the next chapter review. Peace.